Oh my goodness. How you doing? Hope you had an amazing night rest. Welcome to the round table right here on Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja, where music meets clarity. Weekdays, we start off with the newspaper, start off with the dailies. Yesterday was quite different. We had to flip it a bit because of our guest and his timing. But we're back to usual programming. So we'll begin with the dailies, what the headlines have for us this morning, and then we get into the conversation for today. It's Wednesday, so it's everything concerning your health. All right, we'll get into details much later. But right now, let's start off with the newspapers. Remember, WhatsApp is available anytime to react to the stories. 0903 5915. And if you want to call, the number to call is 0903 915. 0903 And that's those are the numbers right now. So you have it. Let's get into the papers. If you're asking what my name is Itoha. Starting off with the Daily Times, Tinubu orders manhunt, vows Kaduna killers will pay dearly. Tinubu orders manhunt, vows Kaduna killers will pay dearly. The president speaking tough. And also still with the president, a photograph here, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu receives the president-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association and some senior lawyers at the State House in Abuja yesterday. Also, news coming from Kaduna. Kaduna Governor Ubasani picks Jerry Adams as running mate for 2027. Well, these are the headlines from the Daily Times today. Moving to this day. This day leads with Tinubu speaking, Kaduna killings unprovoked act of terror against the defenseless. Orders security agencies to hunt killers, rescue abducted victims. Mourns victims, condoles with impacted families. May their souls rest in peace. Quite a sad situation, and also I don't even want to understand what the parents or loved ones will be going through right now. It's never easy, but quite unfortunate. Also, still with issues surrounding security. Reconnaissance visit for new army battalion. You see here. That's a strategic move here. And away from that, appeal court voids judgment directing INEC to deregister ADC, APP, AA, others. Judgment vindicates party, reaffirms supremacy of law, rule of law, says opposition party. ADCD berates lower court for seeking to manufacture evidence in negation of INEC's affidavits that opposition parties didn't meet threshold for deregistration. All of this you can find on page 8 of this day. NLNG's revenue exceeds $149.6 billion. Shareholders' dividends soar to $47.2 billion. That's a lot. That's what they call smiling to the bank. That story is also on page 8. Well, still with this day, a few more stories. Tinubu in warm handshake with NBA president-elect. That's talking about Mrs. Onyi Kanshola Badejo Okusanya. And also Dangote to donate 1/3 of wealth to charity under succession plan. All right, that's it from this day. It's 8:34 and we're looking at the dailies this morning on Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja, and it's still the round table. The Nation says xenophobia, federal government demands justice from South Africa. Eni Kanolaye briefs president on meeting with Ramaphosa's special envoy. Those are the details. So all of that's continued on page 2 of the Nation. INEC neutral, fair to all parties, says Tinubu. President holds Catholic bishops. That was where that statement was made. INEC neutral, fair to all parties, says Tinubu, as president holds Catholic bishops. E-payment makes a round this morning. E-payment penetration drops cash outside banks to 4.92 trillion naira. And also 3 killed as building sinks in Ajuwon community near Lagos. That's the reason, page 51. Top of the nation, you see ADC hails appeal court verdict voiding order to deregister parties. Not so interesting news from Benue State this morning. As recorded, it says 18 killed in Benue Taraba communities. Aliyah, that's the governor of Benue State, is alarmed by it. All of that on page 51. 18 killed in Benue Taraba communities. Aliyah alarmed. And for Oshun 2026, just a few days now, and all need to INEC ensure free, fair election. Ede Monarch rally support for governor. Oye Bamiji will defeat Adeleke. Yiwata Uzodima declares. And that's it from the nation. Moving to Daily Trust. The Daily Trust leads with relief for ADC as appeal court slams judge. And there's a quote here that says, what the land trial court did amount to judicial impertinence, or what the Supreme Court called judicial insubordination. That's a quote here. The story is on pages 3 and 4. Colonel killed while resisting kidnappers in Abuja. Daily Trust has that story on page 8. XLG chair returns to tailoring after losing seat. XLG chair returns to tailoring after losing seat. Well, if he was once a tailor, if he's no longer in office, won't he return back to his business? Okay, anyway, but that's the headline. Dangote to donate 15.9 trillion naira to charity. That's the reason, page 22. Okay, that's a good one. Fubara, Wike makes U-turn. Wike makes U-turn. Find out on page 14. Where's he turning to? You know where? Okay, well, if you know, you know. But details on page 14 of Daily Trust. And also, Daily Trust has the story, but it says 15 killed in fresh attack on Benue communities. As also reported by The Nation, also linking Taraba as well. Quite a very sad one. And still sad stories here. 3 die in Ogun. Building collapse. I'm hoping we get to a point where we do not lose lives as a result of buildings collapsing. It's always very painful. And finally, from Daily Trust, how Unijust student was lynched over alleged phone theft. Oh, God. What's some headlines this morning, right? It's 8:39. Moving to The Guardian. Gubernatorial candidates' parties unsettled by running mate hurdles. Page 6 of The Guardian. And the photographs here of building is it a building being demolished now? Let's see. Some nearby buildings marked for demolition, and sympathizers at site of the collapsed building on Bale Street at Ajuwon, Ogun State yesterday. Well, if the buildings are not strong enough to, to hold people, then it might as well come down rather than it's killing people, right? Trying not to, just a precaution. And Tinubu orders manhunt as northern elders decry fresh killings in region. Page 3. 2027, Afenifere Ohaneze, Middle Belt, Pandef forge fresh alliance. That's for 2027. It's always interesting when we're headed towards general elections in this country. Afenifere Ohaneze, Middle Belt, Pandef forge fresh alliance. 9 million lack access to HIV treatment as new infections rise, says WHO. That's screaming. That amount is screaming. Moving on, opposition hails ruling as appeal court voids the registration, restores ADC for others. Federal government to spend 46 billion naira on Kanu Airport runway reconstruction. If you're following the money, it's a good time to do this. That story is on page 30 of The Guardian. News from Lagos State. Lagos State government moves to tighten safety standards for high-rise buildings. I agree to that. 2 surveillance aircraft arrive in Ibadan to enhance statewide security. Good, good. And finally, from The Guardian, Malpass, collateral-backed borrowing may complicate Nigeria's debt restructuring. That's for business page 18 of The Guardian. We move to Vanguard. The registration of ADC makes the round here. Others was judicial rascality. Appeal court speaks, slams Justice Lifu's action. Verdict corrected grave miscarriage of justice, says ADC. 2027 polls must be won at ballot, not in court, says Atiku. Plots to stop Adeleke thwarted. Governor's camp. Okay, all of that on page 5. And the photographs here picked up by Vanguard. Oyo State surveillance aircraft arrives. Use it well for the people. Still with the Vanguard, banned sachet alcohol. NAFDAC uncovers hidden factories, fresh production. NAFDAC is not playing here. I love it. Ban sachet alcohol. NAFDAC uncovers hidden factories, fresh production. Sometimes these guys should know that these people are just trying to save their lives. But you know how it is with kids when you want to take their toys away from them. That's how it feels. NAFDAC said, don't do this. No, they said they want to do it. But NAFDAC is not backing down. Nigeria at war. Tinubu has no strategy to end it. Olawepo Hashim speaks. Page 9. Nigeria loses 47% of dollar millionaires, retain 4th position in Africa. How do we get back to the number 1 spot? We have to look in debt, right? Nigeria risks losing Africa's tech investment edge, LCCI warns. Gunmen kill army colonel in Abuja, shoot wife. Gosh. Mob kills Uni-Jos graduate over alleged phone theft. As fresh Benue attack leaves 16 dead, many injured. Sad stories packed in one. All of that on page 6. Nigeria demands justice compensation after Afrophobic attacks. Federal government. That story is carried on Vanguard as well, page 37. Tinubu orders manhunt for Kaduna killers. That's it from Vanguard this morning. Well, let's jump straight to the Punch newspaper. That's the final paper this morning. We're looking at federal government overshoots borrowing limit as new debt reaches 12.62 trillion naira. Still says government misses revenue target by 4.9 trillion naira despite higher non-oil earnings. Budget deficit balloons by 47% above projection. Fresh loans bankrolled 36% of 2024 spending. Well, this is coming from Budget Office report. All of this on page 2. More stories from the Punch newspaper. Tinubu challenges rivals, vows fight to finish. And it also says appeal court restores ADC. Atiku, Mark Adeleke celebrate as some restoration. Police silent as reps. Ultimatum on fake agency DG expires today. EFCC faces credibility questions over asset auction. Also on page 9. What's going on? Tinubu orders security chiefs to fish out Kaduna killers on page 17 of the Punch. US-Iran war. Are they back at it? Nigeria tops Africa in petrol price surge. Well, well, that's our pocket screaming. State police governors must control CPs. Southern Middle Belt leaders insist. Governors must control CPs. Okay. And Makinde unveils 2 new surveillance aircraft to combat insecurity. Anyway, these are the headlines and the dailies we're looking at this morning. Let's quickly go on a short break. When we return, our guest will be standing by as we delve into some health issues, and we're looking at hepatitis. It's still the round table on Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja, where music meets clarity. It's 8:45. Stay with us.
High on vibes, not on drugs. On Clean Beats 91.5 FM.
If anybody give you banana, sky, if sugar daddy give you cocaine, run, give you skunk, give you loud, tell you say I want drag, chase, that's how you take start, hey, what's in my eyes don't see. Simba, what you cool, Simba. Lobby say, I know they hear when them say, make I stop. Hey, I know fit stop. I swear I want to stop. Somebody help me stop. If anybody give you banana, sky, hey, whether na school she Simba, what you cool, Simba.
Drugs bring heartache and pain. That's why we're doing this campaign. They draw you in, thrust you out, and leave you begging for mercy, for currency, and that one last drag with no dignity. Drugs have no gain. They bring nothing but shame. Reach out, seek help. That's why we're doing this campaign.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Big man, how fun
I do, wetin dey sup?
I beg, you get one stick for there?
Stick you say, wetin you mean?
You know now, why you dey form like say you be said?
Asal now, Saint Kemi, no.
Know how you know they use guy? You dey always calm, nothing dey shake you.
No be so, I just get something where they always calm me down.
Swear, plug your guy now, haba.
Sure thing, oya take.
Now music they play for you, my G.
Na so, no be any kind cha, na the clean selection of songs from Clean Beat 91.5 FM and all the sweet talks from them OAPs.
Only that?
Yes, so, na the way be that, my guy.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Do you know the NDLEA offers certified drug testing services?
Need a drug integrity test or visa clearance certificate?
For employment, visa processing to Thailand, Malaysia, or India, school admission, court use, or just peace of mind.
Good news, you can do it all from the comfort of your home.
Just log on to drugandvisa.ndlea.gov.ng.
Create your account, pick a test date, choose your location,
and get your certificate fast, safe, and verified.
No agents, no queues, no paperwork.
Apply direct, get your clearance, travel free. This message is from the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Doctor-approved medication only. DJ-approved jams all day. On Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja.
All right, welcome back to the round table. We're on is 8:49, and this morning we're looking at something really interesting. Our guest is joining us via Zoom this morning, but before we get him in, the round table where we go beyond the headlines to unpack the issues shaping our lives is what we do here. And today's Health Corner marks World Hepatitis Day. Yes, we can hear you. Just hold on, Doc. World Hepatitis Day 2026, a global reminder for disease often called the silent killer. Now, globally, over 287 million people are living with hepatitis B and C, and each year, about 1.3 million lives are lost to related complications like liver cancer. Here in Nigeria, millions are affected, many without even knowing it. Now, this year's theme, hepatitis, let's break it down, is what we want to do this morning, and it also calls on all of us to break the silence, the stigma, and the barriers to testing and treatment. So today we ask, why is hepatitis still underdiagnosed, and what can we do to protect ourselves and others? My guest is a resident family physician at the Federal Medical Center Abuja and Chief Executive Officer of the Vital Aid Medical Foundation, where he leads initiatives advancing primary health care and public health advocacy in underserved communities. He's also a TEDx speaker and dynamic public health voice, widely recognized for translating medical knowledge into practical insight. He currently serves as Vice President of the Association of Resident Doctors, FMC Abuja, providing strategic leadership in resident welfare and healthcare delivery. Dr. Ahmed Sani Bala, good morning to you. Dr. Sani, can you hear me? Good morning. Hello, Dr. Sani, can you hear me? Good morning. Looks like he can't. Dr. Sani, can you hear us? Good morning to you. Dr. Sani, I don't think he's muted. I doubt if he's muted. But if you can hear me, just say something so we can go on. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me? I can see him. I don't know why I can't hear him. Let's quickly see. Hello, doctor. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Am I audible enough?
Yes, you're clear enough. Good to go. Welcome.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We can also see you. I can see that you're on duty. Dr. Ahmed, do you have time to rest? Sometimes I wonder.
I try as much as possible to.
I hope you do, because you need it as well. Welcome to the roundtable. Good to have you once again. Yesterday was World Hepatitis Day. Why is hepatitis still considered one of the world's most neglected public health challenges, despite being preventable and in some cases curable?
Thank you very much for the question. Hepatitis, yes, we can say that it remains among the most neglected diseases because often it receives less attention, and this is as a result of many factors, both from the people having the hepatitis, that permit me to use the patients with the hepatitis, and then from also the bodies responsible for handling the diseases. So it's an infectious disease, like many other infectious diseases. It's a disease of enormous concern because it leads to morbidity and mortality. But most infected people have no symptoms at all at the early stage of the disease. Some will not even have symptoms until the disease becomes complicated. So once complication sets in, that's when when the symptoms start appearing. So most people would not seek for medical attention because they feel that they are fine. So you won't like the regulatory bodies, the hospitals and all, they won't know the amount of people with hepatitis unless you subject yourselves to treatment, to screenings, so that your data would be captured. That's so and so people, and then it will get the amount of necessary attention. So from the people don't do screening for the hepatitis. People are not aware that they have the diseases. People are not aware of how dangerous the disease is. So it affects the health-seeking behavior. And then from the point of the healthcare givers also, even though efforts are being made now to create more awareness about hepatitis, efforts are being made to support more screening, massive screening of people and vaccination. But I feel like hepatitis should get more and more concern and more attention and intervention, because people don't know that they have these diseases. People don't know that they need to screen for these diseases, and people don't know that they need to protect themselves from the diseases because they don't know the magnitude of the disease and its severity.
Okay. Now, when we say hepatitis, what exactly are we referring to? Now, I know that we have hepatitis, different types like A, B, C, D, and E. And in Nigeria, which is most common, and how long does it stay in the body to manifest complications?
So hepatitis, it simply means inflammation of the liver. It's a medical term that means inflammation of the liver. So this inflammation of the liver, it could result from different sources. It could be from toxic things that you ingest, like alcohol or alcohol medications overdose, and other diseases like autoimmune disease. It could be from infective causes and non-infective causes. So for the infective causes, which is what we are dwelling on today, we have viral hepatitis. That's the inflammation of the liver. That's what we are discussing today. And as you said, there are different classes of viral hepatitis. We have hepatitis A virus, we have hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis D, and hepatitis E. And they are all different in terms of their transmissions, and then in terms of some are similar, like hepatitis B and C, the sequel of clinical manifestations, and then some of their complications are similar. And hepatitis A and E are similar in terms of means of getting the infection, and then in terms of their clinical presentation. Okay. In Nigeria, as you said, hepatitis B is commonest in Nigeria, followed by is higher. The prevalence is higher, then followed by hepatitis B.
Followed by hepatitis C.
Followed by hepatitis C. Sorry, my mistake.
Okay. So many people compare hepatitis to HIV now, because both can remain undetected for years. Is that comparison accurate? And why is hepatitis often called the silent epidemic?
So the comparison, I understand why people would compare hepatitis and then HIV, because both of them are viral infections, and then both of them initially, when somebody gets infected, might not even be aware, as I said earlier on, that he or she has the infection. So the disease would be progressing without the person knowing that he's harboring the disease, and then get medical intervention until complications set in. So both hepatitis and HIV, they have a way of getting chronicity in medical term. It means getting to a long-term disease. The disease gets into a long term. So both hepatitis and HIV, they have that ability for chronicity. So they may also share some routes of transmission, like hepatitis B. It could be transmitted through, like, the same means as HIV, through blood contact, through sexual contact, with exchange of bodily fluid. It could also be transmitted through mother to child. So that's why people tend to compare the two of them. And then mostly when you are screening for hepatitis and viral screenings in general, they do HIV alongside the other virals, hepatitis B and C. So that's why most people compare them. But hepatitis primarily, it attacks the liver. Okay. While HIV, on the other hand, it attacks the entire immune system of the person. Okay. So hepatitis is called a silent epidemic because many infected people feel healthy, they look healthy, and they remain completely unaware that they have the infection until the disease becomes so advanced. So the liver has a very large functional reserve. Even if it's going through an inflammation, going through a disease process, it will still be carrying out its function until it's no longer being able to carry out its function. That's when people would know that they have the disease, and they'll start looking for medical intervention when the disease has already progressed and complications are already setting in. So that's why it's called the silent epidemic, because most people have in millions have this disease without even knowing that they have the disease, and then the disease is progressing.
Okay, Doc, I'm tempted to ask you this question. When someone begins to show symptoms that the liver is no longer working properly, like you just stated, can it be, can health professionals link it directly to hepatitis? Or they just see that, it's not functioning, we don't know what caused it?
So in everything now, when a patient presents, you have the history. You take history from patient when the symptoms. onset of the symptoms and then the causes of the symptoms that the patient presents with. And then you examine what you as a doctor would look out for. So from the history, when the patient presents to you, definitely the history will point out to liver disease. And then from the course of the disease also, it will point out that then your examination also, it would further buttress the fact that you are evaluating somebody for hepatitis. And then you are doing some tests definitely to confirm your diagnosis, to know the extent of your disease, and also to prepare the patient for disease. So in this test now, there are confirmatory tests because yes, definitely somebody presents with classic symptoms of liver disease, whether it's a chronic liver disease, whether the patient is presenting with symptoms of chronic liver disease, or if it's even presenting in hepatic failure, or maybe the patient is even presenting with symptoms that are indicative of liver cancer. So you know that the liver is diseased, the liver is affected. So you want to establish what is, once it's positive, you go further and do some other tests now to know the extent of the disease and then to prepare the patient for further treatment and management.
Okay, that's good. Dr. Sani, how is hepatitis diagnosed? Is testing simple and widely available in Nigeria?
Yes, I would gladly say that the test for hepatitis is widely available in Nigeria, but at primary healthcare level, secondary healthcare level, and tertiary healthcare level. And it's not an extensive test. It's, mostly we have a standard rapid diagnostic test to diagnose, to do the rapid test to confirm whether the person has hepatitis or doesn't have. That's hepatitis B and hepatitis C. So the further tests now would depend on whether the person is positive for the hepatitis or the person is negative. So these test kits are available at the various healthcare centers, and then whether primary healthcare, secondary healthcare, and tertiary healthcare. And then routinely for pregnant women that go for antenatal care, they do this test routinely. And then also people coming to the clinic, we do health promotion in that we encourage people to do these screenings and then to get themselves vaccinated. So the tests are widely available, and then it's not an invasive test. But however, there are other adjuvant tests, and then there are other tests that you do when you establish that the person has hepatitis. You'll be able to do some other tests, like you do the panel test to know the infectivity of the patient, to know how long the patient has been having it, to know whether it's an acute phase of the disease. And then after that, you also go ahead and do some of the tests to check the liver function, whether the infection has already affected the liver function and you are having a deranged liver function test. And then you also go further to check the architecture of the liver, whether the disease has caused some of the complications like fibrosis, scarring, liver cirrhosis, and then, God forbid, even cancer and all that. You also go ahead. So it's a stepwise from this to this, from this to this. But the initial test of the hepatitis B surface antigen or hepatitis C virus test to test whether the infection is there or not is readily available across all across all tertiary centers, secondary healthcare centers, primary healthcare centers, including private hospitals too.
Okay, that's interesting. It's 2 minutes past 9 o'clock if you're just joining us. This is a round table on Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja. We're looking at hepatitis. Dr. Sani joins us online this morning to discuss, as yesterday we celebrated World Hepatitis Day 2026. The conversation goes on right now. Dr. Sani, back to you. Many Nigerians still don't know their hepatitis status. Why is awareness and testing still so low, despite it being available, just like you mentioned, at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels?
So as I said, I think we need to do more from our own point of view as healthcare givers. It has to be an intersectoral collaboration in that health education is very, very key here. Health promotion is very, very key here, because most attitude of people in health-seeking behavior is that you only come to the hospital when you come down with symptoms of disease. And as I said earlier in this now, symptoms of hepatitis infection might set in when complications are already in there. So at that time, you wouldn't want the patient to be presenting at that. So how do people get aware, and then how do people get enough knowledge, get well equipped with knowledge about hepatitis? Is through public enlightenment campaigns and through different medium of communication across different level of people in the villages. We have to deploy and use the the means of communication that's available for them through radio jingles, and through community leaders going to different, using their community leaders, community gatekeepers to create awareness that screenings are going on for hepatitis, and then the availability of the screenings, and then they'll be telling them where to get the screening, and then telling them what the disease is about, and then the possible complications that could result from the screening, and then how just vaccination will prevent you from getting the disease and then getting there, and then using all form of media, and then involving the various
Okay, looks like network isn't friendly from his end. Dr. Sani, can you hear us? Hello, Dr. Sani, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear
we
me?
lost you
Hello?
the last 15 seconds.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, I was saying that the news agencies, different sectors that are involved with transmission of information should also come into play as the doctors. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello? Okay, as the healthcare givers are doing the health promotion, also it should be propagated by different media houses, different the community gatekeepers, the leaders at different levels should also be involved in this awareness campaign, so that people would come for screening. The people that are found with the disease should be treated timely, and the people that don't have the disease should be prevented and should be taught on how to prevent the disease from spreading around.
All right. Now, there's still confusion about how hepatitis spreads. Some will tell you they can, get it through touching someone, being in physical contact with someone, sharing plates. And I just want, as a medical practitioner, explain the common routes of transmission.
Okay, the common routes of transmission, I would want to start with hepatitis B and C because they are the ones that have the highest disease burden here in Nigeria. So the common route of transmission now for hepatitis B and C, hepatitis C is mostly blood-borne transmission. So anything that can lead to exchange of blood or contamination of blood from a person that has the infection could result in that. For hepatitis C particularly, maybe through use needles, through inadequately sterilized equipments. Like people that, when I say needles now, I don't even mean only in the hospitals. Like in the hospitals, definitely will not be using needles for different people without discarding and using fresh ones. That's in standard hospitals. But people that use intravenous drug use that would share needles while taking their drugs, they're at risk of getting that. People that use razor blades also during sharing of that, and then using clippers when there are cuts, and then immediately using it to the other person, it can transmit hepatitis C. And people that also maybe during traditional cutting of hair, traditional barbing and all that, they don't sterilize their equipment, it can also lead to that. And then there is also what is called mother-to-child transmission, in that during childbirth, a mother that is infected with hepatitis B or C can transmit it vertically to the child she's carrying. That is also seen in hepatitis. And then as I said, also in on-screen blood in rare circumstances where hospitals or the health centers now, they don't have a functional blood bank that ensure prevention of and screening of blood before giving it to people. You don't know some quackery where what is obtainable in other private places. You are not sure, especially during emergencies. They give bloods that are not screened, so the person having hepatitis could donate blood, and then it will be transfused to another person. You see that another person has gotten the disease also. For hepatitis B, apart from these ones that I mentioned, also other body fluids could also transmit the infection, like during sexual contact when bodily fluids are exchanged, and also sharing contaminated toothbrushes, like when there are bleeding gums, and then somebody uses it also. And then mother-to-child transmission could also lead to that. And then in dental procedures and other procedures like tattooing, scarification and all that, when the instruments are not sterilized, they could lead to transmission of hepatitis from one person to another when an infected person gets in. Then the mother-to-child transmission also. For hepatitis A and E, they are mostly transmitted through what we call fecal-oral routes. That's when foods are contaminated by fecal matter in places with poor sanitary conditions, with low socioeconomic status. It could also lead to the transmission of such diseases. But some misconceptions about the transmission, like people would say when they hug people, when they shake people with hepatitis. No, these ones, they are just misconceptions. You cannot just contact hepatitis by just those kind of contact.
Okay, Doc. Well, I've also heard that when you get into probably keke napep or get into a taxi and it's a hot season, if somebody is excreting maybe sweat, bodily fluids, if your pores are open and you're sweating as well, you might also contact it. These are some of the misconceptions. Is that true?
No. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. It's among the misconceptions.
Okay,
That's
great.
not true. It's among the misconceptions about, yes, hepatitis. That's not true.
All right, all right.
It's among the misconceptions.
I agree.
Like I mentioned earlier, the possible, yes, the possible means of transmission of the hepatitis
Okay. Well, Nigeria introduced
for both hepatitis
hepatitis.
A, B, C. Yes.
Yes, can you hear me? All right. So
Yes,
Nigeria
I can hear you.
introduced hepatitis B vaccination
I can hear
into
you.
its childhood immunization program years ago. How successful has that program been?
It has been successful because we routinely, and I would commend the government for that, we routinely do it in all hospitals, and it's among the first immunizations that you give to babies when they are born. It's very, very effective in that it has reduced significantly the rate at which children get hepatitis from childhood exposure. Because mostly, in children, when they get exposed at childhood, you can imagine first 20 years of your lives living with hepatitis and when the complications set in. So it has gone a long way in reducing childhood infections when they get exposed at childhood. So it's among the routine immunization. When we give the patients, the mothers, the immunization cards, they will have the first dosage within the first few days of life, and then they will have the subsequent dosages. So yes, it's very, very functional. It's very, very effective, and it's going a long way in preventing children from coming down with hepatitis infection when they get childhood exposure.
All right, that's good. Well, Nigeria also committed to WHO target of eliminating viral hepatitis as a public health threat by 2030. Is this possible, especially introducing this vaccination for children during the first few days of life? And also for the adults, what can we do to meet up with this 2030 goal?
So at the rate we are going, there is still room for improvement, but we are doing very well in terms of the introducing it into our immunization schedule for children. So my concern is more on the adults also and young adults. We need more awareness. We need more people to screen, because you will not know, we won't be able to achieve that target if people are not screened. Because you cannot just go and start getting vaccination or treatment without knowing your status. So the first step is to get screened. That's when you'll be able to know your status, whether you need treatment or whether you need vaccination. For the people that are already infected, it will help in curbing the transmission of the infection. They will start and in preventing them from coming down with complications, because they would know what to prevent from transmit. By doing so, they won't transmit the disease to other people. And then for people that are not infected, it will be the best avenue to have their vaccination, and then they will get their protection. They will not, so they would, the chain of the transmission would be broken, and then the vicious circle too will be broken. So I would still advocate that we are not there yet in terms of the adult screening and vaccination, but as much as possible, doctors at all levels should also be advocating for people to vaccinate and screen themselves for this disease at every contact. Like us family physicians, from the family medicine perspective, at the general outpatient clinic, where we are the first contact of the patients have with the hospital, we always ensure that among our health promotion activities, the people that are eligible for the hepatitis vaccination, after screening, we encourage them to do so. We screen as appropriate. So I encourage other healthcare givers also, at both at governmental and non-governmental level, and also all organizations, health organizations and other organizations, not just the government, also to put all hands on deck in ensuring that awareness is being made and then reach to the underserved and hard to reach communities, so that they would subject themselves to the screening. They would also subject themselves to the vaccination, and then we'll be able to achieve our target by 2030.
All right, Dr. Sani, we have some questions coming in for you. Someone is asking, is hepatitis a death sentence? Is it possible to contact this disease and also get treated without any complication if discovered early?
Thank you very much for the question. And I like the last statement, the last part of the question, if discovered early, right? So hepatitis is not a death sentence if discovered early, because as I mentioned, it could be going on silently within the body, and then somebody would not know that he's harboring the disease until complication sets in. So once complication sets in, when the liver is failing already, when it has changed the liver cells into cancerous cells, which could happen, you mean we are dealing with an end-stage disease. However, if the disease is caught early, and how would that be? It's through screening. When you screen, and then even if you are not symptomatic, but they said hepatitis is in there, you treat. Hepatitis C is completely curable. That's one consoling fact, that it doesn't have vaccine, hepatitis C, but it has a cure. So we have antivirals that somebody with hepatitis C will take at appropriate dosage for a stipulated period of time, and then the person can get cured. Hepatitis B has vaccination, but it doesn't have a cure. But however, there are medications that will suppress the virus from replicating, and there are medications that will suppress the virus and suppress the progression of the disease and further complications that would arise from the disease. So it's not a death sentence if caught early, and if the treatment is commenced as early as possible.
All right. Jane from Lokogoma is asking if a liver function test is one of the ways they can detect if your liver is functioning well, and also if hepatitis has affected it. There's a question. I think, is a liver function test, one of the ways they can detect if your liver has been affected by hepatitis, Doc?
Okay, thank you for the question. As I mentioned earlier, when we talk about the investigations for confirmation of hepatitis, investigations that you do, and to also check to also prepare the patient for treatment. So liver function test after confirming hepatitis infection is very important, because it shows that it helps us to ascertain whether the hepatitis has damaged the liver to the extent that the functions of the liver, which the liver has many functions in bodily functions, whether the function of the liver has been deranged, we will be able to pick it from the liver function test. So yes, it's very, very important, and to be able to show us whether the hepatitis has affected the liver, and then the extent of the liver damage it has done.
Okay, well, Doc, but just before we let you go, what are the biggest challenges preventing more people from getting tested? Is it the cost?
Yes, I would say awareness first of all, because most people are not aware that they need to do this screening, whether they have the disease or not. And then for the people that are living in hard to reach and underserved communities, definitely rural settings and all, information is challenge also, and then access to the healthcare services also, it's a challenge, because wherever there is access to basic healthcare, definitely among the health promotion exercises, hepatitis screening is part of it. So I would say that people experiencing difficulty is because of lack of awareness, and then lack of access to basic healthcare.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sani. So as we wrap up the interview right now, so you can get back to work, where can people where can people go for hepatitis testing? A question just came through. It's like the person missed, where you spoke about it at the beginning. So where can we go for hepatitis testing, vaccination, and treatment? Doc, please respond.
Okay. So we have hepatitis screening at government hospital at all levels. You can go to the nearest functional primary healthcare. You can get the screening and you can get the vaccine there. You can go to the nearest secondary healthcare, like the district hospitals here in Abuja, the general hospitals. You can also get tested and you can get vaccinated there. And if you are within the proximity of the tertiary hospitals, like the teaching hospital, federal medical centers and all that, you can also go there. You'll be able to get tested. You'll be able to be screened there, and then you'll be able to get vaccination. And other functional private hospitals also, they offer these services, and then you'll be able to access your services there.
All right, Dr. Sani, before we let you go, your final words as we wrap up, as we celebrate World Hepatitis Day 2026.
So my final word is hepatitis is a very, very preventable disease. It's testable, and then it's also treatable. So people should not wait for symptoms. Every adult should know their hepatitis B and C status. Those who test negative for hepatitis B should discuss vaccination with the healthcare professional, as I mentioned, while those that test positive should receive further evaluation and then proper treatment. Do not rely on herbal concoction, herbal remedies, and on other things. And then for a specific group of people like the pregnant women, they should be screened, and every newborn should receive hepatitis vaccine at birth within 24 hours, preferably. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for listening.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sani. We appreciate you for joining us on the round table this morning. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, and have a blessed day too.
All right. It's Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja, where music meets clarity. And we've been speaking with Dr. Ahmed Sani Bala, who is a resident family physician at the Federal Medical Center Abuja and also Chief Executive Officer of the Vital Aid Medical Foundation, where he leads initiatives advancing primary health care and public health advocacy in underserved areas. Well, he's also currently serving as Vice President of the Association of Resident Doctors, FMC Abuja, providing strategic leadership in resident welfare and healthcare delivery. Thank you so much again, Dr. Ahmed Sani, and thank you so much for sending in your messages, your contribution to the topic. It shows that a lot of people are interested in totally, reading the nation of hepatitis B and C, which are prevalent in Nigeria. We appreciate you so much for your contribution to nation building. A healthy society proves to be a healthy economy. So let's continue to prioritize our health daily. It's 20 minutes past 9 o'clock, and that's where the roundtable terminates for today. Remember, we're back again tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Don't miss it. 8:30 a.m. Be here as we tackle other issues. At 10 o'clock, we've got the news coming up right after Clean Slate returns. Stay with Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja, where music meets clarity. My name is Itoha. Good morning.